In his determination to take only the roles that interested him, Heath proved again and again that fame and fortune were way down on his priority list. In 2005, he turned down the title role in Oliver Stone's big-budget epic Alexander. Instead, he took a role in Catherine Hardwicke's independent feature film Lords of Dogtown. A fictionalized account of the rise of modern skateboarding into a global phenomenon, Lords of Dogtown saw Heath playing Skip Engblom, a long-haired anti-hero and social outsider who recruits local skateboarders to form a team and helps them on their way to eventual fame.
He helped them discover this beauty, this creation, this creative side that they all had inside of them, that like creating out of concrete, creating art from this concrete world that they were given, and this bleak, dark, grey world they just injected with colour.
His next film would bring with it a considerably larger budget and higher profile. However, in accepting a role in The Brothers Grimm, Heath's only motivation was the opportunity to work with the irrepressible director Terry Gilliam.
I was a big fan of Monty Python, and I so desperately wanted to be in, The Holy Grail and Life of Brian. I loved it, and so I so desperately wanted to bring like a Python-esque kind of quality to Brothers Grimm too, So, you can't help it because his sense of humor and just his nature is just incredibly infectious.
Fortunately, the cult director had nothing but words of admiration for Heath and his co-star Matt Damon, despite initial concerns about whether the pair would find the necessary chemistry to convincingly portray the Brothers Grimm.
I think that was the thing, in some ways, I was worrying about. How are these guys going to relate? And very quickly they just clicked, and they just found aspects of each other they could bounce off. And it's fantastic. I mean, they're getting married next week, I heard.
I love Matt, and I loved working with him, and he's a generous person, he's a generous actor, he's a fantastic tango dancer.
In the fantasy epic, Heath and Matt played brothers William and Jacob Grimm, famous to this day for their enduring children's fairy tales. While the real-life brothers Grimm were scholars and authors, Gilliam's fictionalized version takes a little poetic license with the facts and sees the pair encountering ghosts and witches themselves.
Our telling of the Brothers Grimm stories, it's a fairy tale. We put them in a fairy tale. It's certainly not a biographic kind of piece whatsoever. It's a pure fairy tale.
The Brothers Grimm premiered at the Venice Film Festival in 2005. It was to be a remarkable, if stressful, festival for Heath. Dealing with the demands of promoting one premiere movie at an international film festival can be tough enough. But at the 2005 Venice Film Festival, Heath was starring in not one, but 3 movies.
It's been really overwhelming. I mean, it's obviously an honor to have my movies here, and one movie, let alone having to bear the responsibility of representing 3 movies. It's taxing, it's exhausting.
One of Heath's most appealing traits was his openness in interviews that exposed his vulnerability. Despite sometimes being distrustful of the media, when Heath talked, he talked with candor, often betraying signs that his emotional artistic temperament was at odds with the demands placed on him away from the film set, when he had no alter ego to hide behind.
I don't know where I am right now. I'm kind of floating. I'm having like out-of-body experiences when I'm talking to people, and I feel like every sentence I say, it was the same as the very last sentence I just said, and every word that escapes my mouth is the same word that just followed it, and it's about to, it's just very confusing, and it's very exhausting, as I said. But I'm trying as hard as I can to represent all 3 films with stamina and enthusiasm.
As well as The Brothers Grimm, Heath had another big-budget commercial movie making its debut at Venice in 2005. Also a period piece, this film was a good old-fashioned romp in which Heath would play history's most infamous seducer, Casanova.
I knew little bits about Casanova, but not that much, and so I read like one of his journals or 2 of his journals, and And then after reading the script and talking to the director, I realized that the director or the script or the actors around me weren't really necessarily taking his story and his legend too seriously, and it was an opportunity to kind of not take ourselves too seriously or acting too seriously and just have fun, which we did.
Directed by the Oscar-nominated Lasse Hallström, Casanova put Heath's matinee idol looks to devastating effect as he swashbuckled his way through 18th century Venice, leaving a trail of broken hearts in his wake. Despite Casanova's reputation as a ladies' man, Heath's research found that there was more to the character than meets the eye.
He was a very diverse person, character. He was a jack of all trades. I think he was a smart man. He considered himself a philosopher, an artist, a musician.
Having already been linked to a string of high-profile beauties such as Heather Graham, Naomi Watts and model Christina Cauchy, journalists delighted in drawing parallels between Heath's real-life romantic prowess and that of his character. But Heath was quick to distance himself from the comparisons.
I take great pride in my soul and the consistency and longevity of my love, and I think everyone can fantasize about the notion of being a Casanova or experiment that way when they're younger, but I'm certainly not at that place now in my life. So
at that moment in his life, Heath was in a long-term relationship with the woman who would become the mother of his child, Michelle Williams. Heath fell in love with Michelle when they worked together on Brokeback Mountain, the third film that Heath found himself representing at Venice that year. Starring together in the Ang Lee epic transformed both their lives